Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to go over Mercer just because a lot of people have requested I do a video about how I would mod Mercer as well as what type of weapon I would give him. He's a lot more available in the game now and a lot of free-to-play and light spenders are finally getting this awesome toon. So I'm hoping that this video will help you guys figure out exactly how to use him. Anyway guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content and information. So what makes Mercer a great toon is that he can be used as either an offensive leader or a defensive leader, and there are many ways to manipulate how you're going to use him. I would definitely say first off to max out his rush, but regarding his active skill, I have not touched my Mercer's active skill personally. I don't really want him using elusive on the first turn, and regarding recovering from bleed, burn, and maim, he probably doesn't need to use it on the first turn because your defensive team or offensive team is not going to bleed out or burn out on the first turn. And the only way you're really going to be maimed to death is if you're exhausted. So if you have unnatural AP gain and then an angel applies exhaust to you. Next, we're going to look at Mercer's weapon. So I made Mercer's weapon a 5-star weapon. I was going for 40% attack, a huge bonus to AP when attacking, and I left his special stun. What I did add to his 5-star weapon is Team Player, which gives 15% attack and plus 35 crit chance to all adjacent toons. Now, the reason why I gave him this craft is because he's a leader toon, meaning there are 4 toons that surround him, and all 4 toons will benefit from this attack increase and crit chance increase. I know there's been a number of people who have suggested adding 20% AP to self along with the bonus 20% attack, and that type of weapon would also be a great weapon to give Mercer, but I would do a weapon swap, just because this stun on a blue toon is very unique and it can't be crafted. Now, the weapon that I currently have for Mercer is a very offensive weapon, and frankly, on defense, I would love to craft him a different weapon to weapon swap onto him. Regarding a mod choice, so because I use him on attack and on defense, I've opted to go with a very tanky defensive build by having HP set mods, HP, defense, reflect damage, defense versus fast, as well as stun resist. This mod set doesn't make him attack very hard, but it does help him survive on defense. I figure so long as he's providing his leader skill, the stun, which gives me an opportunity to actually have a full turn of attacking without the enemy being able to attack me, I can supplement the lack of damage from Mercer with other damage toons. In the future, if I get the defensive weapon that I want on Mercer to swap on, I might go with a more offensive mod set and use attack set mods instead. I might consider keeping the 1 attack HP set just because I still need to give him some extra HP on my defensive lineup, even if I do craft him a very defensive weapon. Attack up when taunted can be a very effective mod choice as well, that can work well on defense as well as offense. Attack versus fast if a meta stays with more fast toons on defense. Attack, and then attack stun resist. So the stun resist I find to be very important because in many cases, if someone sees a Mercer defensive lead, many people run a Mercer attack. That's exactly what I do actually, and I find it to be very effective. With this type of mod shift, I would lose 1100 HP, about 500 defense, but I would increase my attack from 600 to 1100 points based on what mods I decide to use. So how I decide to construct an attacking Mercer team, I need to supplement the fact that he doesn't give an offensive leadership skill, meaning he doesn't give attack or AP when attacking. So I need to have a way in order to rush my team faster, which can easily be manipulated using Dr. Stevens, who I recently acquired, or even Secretary Gao. There are some other ways to manipulate AP, which is done by 8% and 20% AP weapons, as well as different toons' active skills. So with the rest of my team, I am trying to stay true to a Mercer lead, because Mercer does give all tough and strong teammates a huge bonus to AP when taking damage. So by running Priya, who's my heavy damage dealer, as well as Glenn as a command toon, who can also hold the Team Player green weapon that I have crafted, meaning he'll give 15% attack and crit, 35 crit to adjacent toons, so that's Priya as well as Mercer, If I add in Princess into this team as well, she's another control toon as well as a huge damage dealer. This type of team offers me two forms of turn 1 control, one being by Mercer's lead skill, and the second being by Dr. Stevens and his ability to rush on the first turn, while also giving 60% AP to two other teammates, and that is easily manipulated by attacking with those two toons at the start. What I'm doing right now is just toggling weapons to show you the difference in the attack stat as I change weapons on my Mercer away from his team player weapon. So obviously team player affects this team the most, and at the moment it's also affecting the toon that is holding it, specifically with Mercer as well as Princess. So when either of those two toons have a team player weapon, for some reason the 15% attack as well as the crit chance applies to self as well. So when making a Mercer lead defensive team, there's a few methods that you could go about creating this team. So I'm going for a fast rushing defensive team, but I'm actually going to be a little unorthodox with this team. Most people attribute a fast rushing defensive team with a very heavy hitting and strong team, but I don't want to put in a lot of damage dealers onto this team because someone can easily counter this team by running a payback toon on attack. So I actually prefer putting Cole in this team because when he rushes, he cuts the attack of the opponent in half as well as taunts the enemy. So even if a taunt is resisted, he can still do minus 50% attack, I think, to 3 enemies. I like using Princess because her active skill normalizes the enemy, which stops payback, which stops bide, which stops commanders, and she just produces so much damage. Another toon that I like using is 6-star Frost. Obviously the S-class is better, but he's a very strong and tanky toon even as a 6-star. Give him an elusive impair weapon. You can level his rush if you want because when he rushes, he can revive a toon. He can also provide 5 turns of healing. He's just a great option to use. Now, other changes you can make to this team, you can put a command toon in where Cole is. That way Dr. Stevens is going off on the first turn. But it's a little dangerous because of Princess and Mercer, obviously, and their rushes being pretty powerful. Other toons would be like S-Class Steve, who is a WOC toon. I think he'd be pretty useful, actually, in this type of defensive team because he can apply indirect damage with his burn on his rush, and his active infection recovery will be useful when Mateos and Minervas are used on attack. You can use Priya with Rampage, for an example, instead of Princess or another toon. That way, even on basic attacks, you can apply a high amount of damage. You could run this team with 8% and 20% AP weapons and even a Rav in order to get that turn 1 rush on defense. There's just a lot of different options and methods that you could use a Mercer lead with. If you were lucky enough to get Payback Shiva, she would work great behind Mercer. Cam Scar is another great toon behind him because he's also getting that huge bonus to AP when taking damage, but has a 20% chance to actually gain 100% AP when being attacked. Cam gives great taunt loops, and he's just one of many options that you can use on a defensive team. In my opinion, the biggest downfall to using a Mercer lead is that usually the rest of your team is not very tanky because Mercer doesn't apply that defense or HP buff. I would also like to add that ideally I'd want to craft a 5-star elusive impair weapon for Mercer instead of his usual stun weapon. So this weapon here I severely messed up on. The only important stat that I would want from a weapon like this if I were to make it a 5-star is the elusive impair. I would want to probably add HP and then a huge bonus to AP when attacking. Now the reasoning why I would want a weapon swap an elusive impair weapon on Mercer for defense is because anyone who's attacking a Mercer lead already has a lot of toons that have stun resist mods. Now that means that each toon only has one more chance at having a resist mod if they choose to have any. So because with the current meta a lot of people are using taunt resist mods and stun resist mods, having an impair resist mod is less likely on an attacking team. You would have to watch out for attack up when impaired, but I'm hoping the elusive ability will also help in the opponent not being able to gain any AP. Now, for the 4th spot on the elusive impair weapon, you could craft this universal one, reduce critical hit damage taken by 50%, or reduce rush damage taken by 15%, even reducing basic attacks by 15% because that would also include rushes from toons like Priya because her rush is composed of 3 basic attacks. So there's a few different options there on what would work out well for Mercer. Another idea is this ranged crit where every turn heal one teammate by 25% of your missing HP. Other options you have include Universal Crit 1, every turn 25% chance to heal one teammate by 50%. Now, it's not very consistent, but it could help, especially when you know your toon is going to be taking a lot of damage. So ideally when you don't have a human shield up and they'll be taking direct damage from the opponent. Another option for Mercer is Tough Crit, so Tough Health, up to 2 teammates get plus 5% bonus HP per turn for each tough teammate on the team, which can be really effective if you're using a Mercer lead and a lot of blue toons behind him. And now just to show you a couple raids while using a Mercer lead against Mercer leads. So there are a couple difficulties using a Mercer lead on attack. I've pinpointed them before. Lack of AP, but that's replaced by Dr. Stevens. A bit of lack of control, but Mercer has stun at the start, as well as Dr. Stevens, taunt, as well as impair. And then overall, I have enough power coming from both Priya and Princess to take care of the other toons. And Mercer is also a control toon when he rushes, because he can stun up to 3 enemies for 2 turns. Princess is really the star of the show, without anyone really realizing it at times, because her active skill can really neuter the enemy, and provides me a huge advantage because she gets attack buffed every time that someone attacks her because of Berserker, as well as her special weapon. It can be very difficult to adjust to a Mercer attack team because you're applying RNG to the enemy, but there's also a lot of RNG being applied back, so you need to find that balance. Anyway, thank you for watching and listening to my video.